What is your favorite feature in ARCHICAD, despite possibly never ever using ARCHICAD yourself personally?
Well, my favorite feature in ARCHICAD is BIMx, which is of course a non-answer because BIMx is not ARCHICAD.
Oh, well, welcome to the Graphisoft Talk podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Hildebrandt, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Boldizsár Koenig, who is based in the Budapest office. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today, Boldy.
It's an honor to be here. I watched the previous podcasts, and it's really an illustrious company I'm joining.
Well, in terms of joining, you've been with the company quite some time, but in terms of company of this podcast, I'm glad that you feel that you're part of some great people. Now, to start off the conversation today, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the career history that you have before you began your role, or before you began your time at Graphisoft? You know, what excited you in school, and what study did you do at university?
I studied originally as a teacher, teaching English as a foreign language and Hungarian, like literature, grammar, and so on. And by the time I graduated, I was about to get married too. And my wife, I met her in college. She is a maths major. We did the little calculations and realized that founding a family on two teacher salaries is a high risk operation. So we decided that I should do something else. So I went into mostly it was commerce, usually with a hint of technical background. And well, most of my life I worked in small companies. So the roles I had were not particularly differentiated. And it was good because I'm this generalist kind of person, not a specialist. And in small companies, you need Swiss Army knife type people who can do this and that and everything, whatever is needed. And yeah, so I worked a lot of things. I've been many things. Maybe someone on the gallows not yet, but
It's something that's would relate a lot to a lot of the customers that Graphisoft have, with many users being sole practitioners as architects themselves, being very familiar with having a diverse set of skills that they need to keep their business running in terms of running the books, doing the marketing, doing finance, HR, and the like. So it's a great skill set to kind of guess start your position or start your role in Graphisoft, in terms of, you can kind of find the things that you like and that are passionate about to then, facilitate your career moving forward. Now, stepping into your time at Graphisoft, first of all, I guess, how long have you been at Graphisoft, and what was the role that you started in when you transitioned out of these small businesses into Graphisoft? At the time, would have been a reasonably large company.
it was a time of rapid growth. I started in 2016, so it's almost 9 years now. And I joined the Hungarian direct sales team uh, as in an administrative role, processing orders and signing the SSA contracts with the customers and so on. And it was a really small team, sort of like a little company inside the big one. And it was clear that this team was in need of growing because, for example, we didn't have anyone specifically to do marketing related stuff. So when we had the opportunity, as an administrative person, I started to do some of the marketing jobs we needed to get done. And when the team had the opportunity to grow and increase numbers, Then I was moved into more of the marketing related stuff and organizing trainings and so on, and somebody else took over the administrative. And after 3 years, there was this agile transformation started in development, and the company was looking for Scrum Master or people wanting to go into that career. And at that year, a major bank and I think an oil company started such a transformation. So they just drained the available people from the market, and so we had to find people in-house. And in an earlier job, like around 2010, I worked as a contractor for a software company. And at the time, they started this agile transformation. And following the things that were happening there, I found that this whole mindset of agile, the flexibility, the ability to keep adapting to changing requirements and conditions and so on, and the role of the Scrum Master in it, very intriguing and interesting. And well, then life took turns. And when we got to the point that Graphisoft wanted to hire Scrum Masters, around the same time I met a friend from that software company, and he asked me, Boldy, how is that you are still not a Scrum Master? And all I needed was this push. And the next day I wrote an email to Zsolt Kerecsen, head of R&D, to say that I'm interested, who should I be talking to? And he said, talk to me. So we did. And then we made a round with the management of development, and it worked out. They've been at first a little wary that a guy from marketing coming to development, he's not a programmer, he's not an architect. What does he want? But the role requires lots of soft skills, which I think do have. And they said, okay, let's try this. And here we are.
I think that being a teacher in many ways kind of teaches you the ways in which you can kind of guide people on a journey, you know, and a teacher as a role is essentially developing and learning about the soft skills that you need to bring different people along on different journeys and bringing them in together. And I think that's probably why you're so suited to this role. But can we take a step backwards? Because I'm quite familiar with Agile and the terminology of Scrum Master, but I'd like to take a step back and assume that maybe there might be some of our listeners here today that are completely unaware of what Agile is because of the way in which their own businesses work, in terms of most architects don't work to an Agile methodology. And I think they may have possibly heard about these comments being made as part of the Building Together series, and also possibly through some of our previous podcast interviews where we've talked about how Graphisoft has transitioned to Agile and sprints and developing smaller feature sets in quicker turnaround cycles. So for the listeners that are not aware of what Agile is, and could you kind of enlighten those people and explain, I guess, what Agile actually is?
Agile is basically a mindset of being able to adapt as quickly as possible to changing requirements and environments. Around the time and before the dot-com bubble in the 90s, software development processes went like, I have a customer, I talk to them, we design and in really small detail what is required, document it, and then give it to the developers. They write the code, and then testers test it, and then they fix the bugs, and then we release the product and give it to the customer. But it was it was a long process, a very linear process. And well, with the explosion of internet and new things coming in all the time at the time, made this slow process too slow. So things kept changing. They had to redesign and start over, and nothing really got done on time or at all. Lots of failed projects, and they just had to find a way that is more adaptable. So, and this is where some new methodologies, like maybe Scrum is the most popular and best known, which says don't plan everything ahead, work in smaller increments, try to make every increment delivered, giving something useful, working, something with value in it to your customers. So if you have something of the skeleton of a product, like I don't know, web shop or something, which does very basic things, but it does them, then you can start to run it and do the business. Not all the features are there, but it's still more than nothing. And building a product gradually and adding to it, but being usable from the beginning is more profitable and better than waiting and investing and waiting and investing and then having something at the end which may be outdated at the time it's published. So this kind of change of attitude of delivering something usable and workable, that means that has a value to the customer early, and then also building on the experience and feedback you got from the working real life application, and building into the following iterations will result in better products. So we started to apply this approach to developing ARCHICAD, and I think this way of making smaller increments and relying a lot on the feedback from the field has brought lots of changes, and positive changes in the past 5 years. We've been doing this, at least from my point of view.
So in terms of the time frames, and I think this is the most important kind of conversation piece to, I guess, clearly kind of explain to people that actually aren't aware of the concepts of agile and sprints and having Scrum sessions, etc. In the past, you talked about developing a feature over a very long period of time, and yes, you might have management meetings where you talk about progress, how things are going, but essentially it's just let's get this whole package delivered approach, and it's done in a big period. So when you have an overall delivery and you have a series of sprints, which is essentially micro deadlines that you're trying to hit across the delivery phase of an overall kind of goal, how long are Graphisoft using? How long is a sprint currently for the majority of the features or development processes that are getting worked on through Graphisoft at the moment?
Well, it would be easy to say 2 weeks, but it's, as usual, life is more complex than that, because some teams, some squads work in 3-week sprints, some work in 2-week sprints, some are not working in sprints at all. They are working in a more uninterrupted way, in a flow, which is usually tagged with Kanban, but it's a simplification, but let's stick with that. But the important thing is that the code they write and the QA engineers test reaches the main branch from which we publish the new versions and hotfixes and so on. It reaches the main branch a lot faster than before, and if we think of main versions like the upcoming ARCHICAD 29, it doesn't show so easily to the end users because it comes once a year. We know that migrating ongoing projects between versions is a tricky thing, so going into very short and quick new versions is not a goal at the moment, because this is not what means increased value to most of our customers. But if we find a bug and we fix it, then with more frequent hotfixes, we can solve the problems of those who run into such problems much quicker. Or in case of technical support problems which require development involvement, also I think has been made quicker. And actually, these three things are a tripod where we can deliver value. With the main versions, we deliver new features to all of our users. With hotfixes of bugs, we deliver solutions more frequently to a smaller circle who run into these bugs, because it's a very complex system, so you either run into it or not. And with solving support issues, we deliver value to maybe only one customer, but it's a very, very high value for that person or company. And we are balancing these three priorities of delivering value to different circles of our customers to balance out the best or optimum as far as it can be done.
So I don't want to turn our whole conversation today into what is Agile. I hope that people that want to learn a lot more about it can jump onto another, search on Google, or search on YouTube and find it. But I do want to close out with some final terminology, which essentially will describe, I guess, the activities within your role currently. And can you explain what a Scrum actually is? Because that's obviously terminology that's outside people that love rugby union or rugby league. That's what they'll imagine Scrum to be. And your role as a Scrum Master. What is a Scrum Master, and what are the tasks that you perform mostly on a daily basis?
So the expression Scrum comes from rugby, yes. And as far as I'm not an expert on rugby, but when a Scrum there is a large group of people pushing each other and trying to get the ball. So the focus is on the ball. Is it right?
Yes, that's correct. 100%. Both teams are trying to push each other over the ball so that they can either gain possession or regain possession, depending upon who's feeding the Scrum.
So, and the Scrum is happening with small cross-functional teams that are capable of delivering something fully without external help or dependencies. So, like, it's a group of people, professionals, 6 to 8 persons, and it includes developers who write code, programmers, QA engineers who can test for mistakes or bugs, and also designers. And so this is the development team, and the delivery team is also adding a product owner, or product managers, and the Scrum Master. So these are the roles: the development team, the product manager who acts as the customer, kind of, because it's not architects coming to us asking us to develop this or that feature, but it's a box software, not custom software. So they have a representative kind of, and this is the product owner, and the Scrum Master is the guy who coordinates the whole stuff that we work according to the framework of Scrum, and yeah, it's like in the movie Shrek that ogres are like onions; they have layers, and Scrum Masters do lots of small things like taking care of the rules to be obeyed, like having all the necessary meetings and removing obstacles from working in focus for the team, and facilitating meetings to keep up focus, and taking care of all the small things which make the running smooth. Maybe this is more or less correct way of describing it. Especially when we started it, I often had the feeling in the end of the day that, oh, I'm so tired. What was I doing all day? And I couldn't just put my finger in it that I did this or that, because it was a constant flow of small things, interactions, little administration here, organizing or facilitating a meeting there, talking to the product owner, and so on. So it's really difficult to say I do this or that, because it's many, many small things. Changing all the time.
Well, that's the thing, right? You got to be agile. You got to be able to adapt and change to change. I used to work in an organization where some people within it were struggled with fatigue because of change. They were overwhelmed by change. The way in which Graphisoft has transitioned from traditionally building and coding software to agile, how has the journey been? So in your role, you would have to be kind of shepherding and helping everyone along on that journey to kind of feel part of and ownership of what they're doing and moving forward. Obviously, there would have been bumps along the road, but how do you feel that the team are handling it now in terms of this adapted workflow and way of working compared to the way in which they worked in the past?
I think we are way more flexible than before. So initially, the slogan was "Welcome Change," and this can be abused. So if you welcome change and ready to adapt to changing requirements, changing priorities, whatever, is good, and it's important. But you also have to pair it with the price or cost of change. So if you start to develop a feature and you are in the middle of it, half done, but something changes quickly and you have to abandon it and start something else, then you have to factor in that that the effort that went into the half-finished thing is wasted as long as it's not finished. So you always have to consider the cost of change, but that doesn't mean you have to avoid changes. It's a balancing act.
Being in my role that I've had throughout my career, I've always enjoyed talking or enjoyed kind of looking at processes and ways in which we can work to be more efficient and effective in the architectural field. And knowingly, in organizations that I've helped, you see, that every time I always love looking at that, the kind of like almost like the change or adoption curve of technology and the like. And you see that kind of bell curve scenario, and I guess I'm going away on a great tangent here, only because I get excited about talking about these sorts of things. But did you find that there was a half or a third of the people that struggled with this change to an agile approach, or was it something where you were such a good teacher you were able to bring them along a lot easier? Or is software a completely different field compared to architecture, because architects don't like change at all?
But still they do it and adapt to the changes, I don't know, brought about in the middle of designing a building, and then, we want a shop in the first floor and not an office, and please change it around. So I think it's a familiar situation for architects too. I'm glad you mentioned efficiency and effectiveness, because they are also often mistaken with each other or mixed up, and efficiency is doing something very well and without losses or waste. But if you do something very efficiently, which should not be done at all, then the whole effort is a waste. As opposed to effectiveness, when you are making good decisions, deciding what to do, and then what you do has an effect. It brings value, to return to this favorite word. And then doing effective things efficiently is an improvement. So first is effectiveness. Choose what to do because it's worth it, because it should be done, it should happen, and then try to improve on it. Make it more effective, because then if you do something more effectively, then it's done sooner, and then you can start the next effective thing. And yes, there have been struggling people. It's like, I'm a C++ programmer. I don't want to take part in evaluating automatic tests. Yeah, but at the moment there are not enough QA engineers in the group, so we need your help. Yes, but I am a C++ programmer, and okay. But I think people gradually came over, because these little squads, as we call them, these teams, really work in a quite focused way, and they really help each other. So like we have engineers, developers who write little lists of points of interest in regard of testing the stuff they developed, and they hand over the thing for testing to the QA engineers with this really pleasant list. So they have a flying start about when they have to design or start testing the delivered work. So there have been lots of changes, and also I would like to praise the product division department, because they have improved a lot from having grand designs and very detailed plans, and everything had to be done to have a beautiful something at the end. They changed into they now have increments. So if we have a set of features we'd like to deliver to the customers, then we have a core of it. So if we do that, then it's already something that would make people happy. And then in the next stage, we add this and this and this and this, which makes it even better. And then maybe not this year, but next year we can supplement it with this, and then it will be perfect. And this is an agile thing, because if I don't know, something happens and only a part of it can be done before we have to release the new version, then this little part is a lot more than saying that, okay, not this year, but next year. because this little part may mean a lot to those who need this right now. So I think we've come a long way.
No, I think that's an important point to note for users in terms of understanding how in the past a feature may have never been released. Well, it wasn't released, it was held over another release because the whole entirety of it hasn't been completed. But then you'll see features that have been released in the last few releases that, following that agile approach, you'll see that they have been further developed as future releases have been released. And I think an example of that probably would be openings, where openings originally worked, I think, only in a couple of native ARCHICAD elements. Now it works in a lot more. So I'm guessing that's a true working example of what you mean by that.
Also, the openings will be, or already are, but not released, in the API. So those who develop third-party add-ons can now include openings in their add-ons and products. So it's a more gradual approach, but handing over what we already have and not waiting for a big bang, I think it's better.
Now, Boldy, this next question I have for you, I think I'm going to get the most interesting answer ever out of all of the people I've spoken to. Most of the time, the people I've spoken to have come from an architectural background. You've come from a teaching background, who started in sales, worked your way through marketing, now are managing essentially meetings of the product team and helping understand and seeing the new features in terms of the way in which the teams are working through those. What is your favorite feature in ARCHICAD, despite possibly never ever using ARCHICAD yourself personally?
Well, my favorite feature in ARCHICAD is BIMx, which is of course a non-answer because BIMx is not ARCHICAD. But
oh well, I should have said what's your favorite product / feature that Graphisoft has developed? What is it about BIMx that excites you in terms of it as a standout for you? And obviously over the years you would have been involved in marketing different features and products on every release that's come out. So what is it about BIMx that's excites you?
Well, BIMx brings architecture close to those who are not architects, so to the everyday person, and it's very intuitive and it's very visual. So like moving a cut plane through a building gives so much visual information you can't describe in words, or it takes too long. And so when I first started BIMx, actually it was on my phone, very small screen. It was just great, and everything came to me easily. It didn't take trainings or watching how-to videos. It just explained itself.
And I guess that's important. I think that's an important point, and I have to admit I have had several clients that when you give them a copy of the BIMx file, they will, instead of probably scrolling on social media for nights on end, they will sit there on the couch and navigate and explore their future project and start to understand how they may live in it moving forward, or how they may use that facility. So it is a powerful tool for non-architects, which I think you've just pointed out for yourself. You were fascinated coming from a perspective of a teacher / marketer, in your roles that you've had.
Yeah, so thinking with the head of somebody who wants a house for a family built, talking to an architect, looking at floor plans and sections and facades is a lot less informative than moving around in a 3D model, or even walking through doors and upstairs and looking out windows. It's much more immersive, and you just understand the spaces which many people can't just by looking at the floor plan.
Now, today you have covered off, I guess, a lot with relation to the way in which Agile has changed the way in which Graphisoft are developing features, products, etc., moving forward. But as the majority of the people that are watching our conversation today are architects and customers that don't understand software development, and on top of the fact that you've watched a lot of the previous episodes, you probably have an understanding of what our previous guests have talked about as well. But what are some of the kind of, being in Graphisoft for nearly 9 years, what are some of the things that you believe that happen on the software development front that may be of interest, or something that, architects, customers, engineers that Graphisoft have might not actually understand or know about software development?
I think let's start with a stereotype. People who develop software are pale, socially awkward, overweight men wearing glasses, eating pizza, typing code, and talking about geeky things only to other geeks. So this is the stereotype. Do you have a program for Friday night? Would you like me to write one for you? And the reality, at least in Graphisoft, is completely different. So it's a collection of diverse, colorful, fun group of intelligent people with an inspiring array of interests and hobbies. We do have lots of architects, especially among the QA engineers and product designers. But we also have an architect who is a programmer, and he was a programmer first, and then got so intrigued by developing ARCHICAD that he went to college and got his degree in architecture. Or we have Graphisoft Cheetahs, running group who do morning runs every Thursday morning, and also run around Lake Balaton, which is the biggest lake in Hungary, within 24 hours every year. It's over 200 kilometers. Last year they did it in 17 hours. And of course we have our share of geeks, like some guy who is reverse engineering, I don't know what, it was in an old programming language, assembly games from decades earlier, so that they can be recreated in modern technology. Or I don't know, we have a colleague, she's a museologist. We have musicians and baristas and mental health professionals. So it's really a mixed bag, and really have fun and great people who are, on top of all this, very intelligent and very, very good at their jobs. So the ages range from, I think, the youngest colleague was 19 when I met him. The oldest are above 70. And most of us are based in Budapest, but we also work from Norway, Germany, even Romania. We have grandparents and young moms. Actually, it's been discussed that we should include production babies in the description of new versions, like at the end of films in the movie, because people have families, they're growing. It's not a very gray and boring place where I work, so to say.
No, that's exciting, considering you talked about stereotypes, and here I am, an architect wearing a black t-shirt. So, I decided to stereotype it up for our conversation this evening, and you probably would see the majority of the time I do enjoy wearing a black t-shirt. You did mention family at the end of that conversation, and some great insights I got through the team is that your son actually works at Graphisoft as well. How exciting is it to have your son working as part of the same organization as you? Is it, I know that my children are very young at the moment, at 12 and 9 years respectively, and the conversation's always like, oh, it'd be great to work where you work, Dad. Uh, is that something that was ever a conversation around the dinner table when your son was growing up, or what does he do at Graphisoft?
Well, he's no longer with us. He changed to a startup, but he spent, I think, 3-4 years with Graphisoft as a software engineering trainee intern.
Yep.
Well, it was not much of a discussion around the dinner table, maybe, but it was fun to say, yeah, it's a family business, this Graphisoft, with the 800 people working here, but it's not unheard of. So I know married couples who work both in Graphisoft, other parent-child pairs or brothers. Well, we take care not to put these people in direct line of management. So wife is not the boss of the husband, at least not in the workplace.
That's one place that you need some safety, right?
Yeah. So, but it was fun to walk over and have somebody from the family next door, even at work.
And even more exciting that he's now gone on to be part of another startup. So essentially, Graphisoft's helped begin his career and his journey in a sense. It's a great thing for him.
Yes, and it's been mentioned in earlier podcasts that we have a really robust testing infrastructure and a team of QA engineers and methodologies and everything. And even though he was a developer, software engineer, when he joined this startup, he was the second software engineer at that company. And when they heard that he has seen an operating auto-test system, he's been appointed as the testing, I don't know.
Like a manager or head of it or something like that.
Yes, but having only two software engineers, of which one was he, being the head of something is a joke, but he's responsible for testing.
You can be the more senior party.
Yes. Yeah. So even though it's a different profession, he gained enough experience that it was appreciated and valued in a different environment.
Shifting gears a little bit, but kind of on a similar topic in terms of something that you're really passionate about. Also been kind of made aware that you're really passionate about building communities and maintaining relationships in Graphisoft. Obviously, in your role, you have a function in terms of performing tasks to kind of bring people together and help deliver success. But what is it that kind of, on top of your base role that you have, what excites you, and why do you think it's important that you have communities within Graphisoft is such a large organization?
Really hard to put my finger on it, but on one hand, nobody ever said that you are not supposed to have fun at the workplace. So being friendly, talking to people outside your immediate team, especially working across silos, which we happily don't really have, unlike other big organizations, is important, because little weak connections across hierarchies can foster a more smooth flow of information, problem solving, and so on. So little personal connections are great to have in every organization. And also if there are people of similar interest, or if there is a new idea like the grid, these innovation days we have twice a year, and it's something worth doing, then usually I can be counted in. So when the epidemic was going on and we had to do the third grid online remotely, unlike the first two, which were happening live in the office, then I said, okay, I take the role of being the MC and facilitating the demos of what people achieved in the 4 days when they've had the opportunity of developing their own ideas. And then it grew into something very successful kind of tradition. Now we have a whole team. Everybody's kind of volunteer doing this on top of their daily jobs, organizing, preparing this feast of innovation, and now we have ideas developed in these grids, Graphisoft Innovation Days, which made it into ARCHICAD itself. So it's not just about letting off steam and making your ideas flourish, but also they can contribute to making our product better and thereby making the lives of our customers easier or better.
Now, when I interviewed Moha, he's talked about his involvement in Grid. What's his role and your specific role in delivering Grid? Obviously, you talked about being an MC. Is there any other kind of incentives or guidance you're giving to team members with relation to Grid? Or, I guess it'd be good to learn a bit more from your perspective, because we heard from Moha about his views about it as well.
I had a bigger role in the early stages when we had to invent the whole thing and build a kind of system of it and a team around it. But now we have a very capable team, and I could take a step back and enjoy the half days being the MC of the demo day. But it takes some creative brainstormings how to keep it up, but refresh it a little every time so that it's not getting boring or it's all the same. So we have to be able to renew, and I'm happy to contribute to that.
I enjoyed talking to Moha about it, and I think it was probably the first time the outside world, outside of people within Graphisoft, learnt about Grid. So Grid's very familiar to people that work within Graphisoft, but it's not familiar to us as customers. Now, Moha did talk about some of the things that he was excited about from Grid in terms of outcomes. But is there, one, and it's always kind of like, picking your favorite child. And, if you've been so closely involved with Grid, it might be hard for you to do so. But is there like a favorite kind of outcome or story that you could tell us from your Grid experience in terms of, was there something that was really special that occurred that's like made you go, this is one of the best things that we could be doing in terms of community building within Graphisoft?
I have two favorites. One is that AI Visualizer actually started in Grid as a Grid project, and look where it's come. The other is, so Grid works that we started on Tuesday, and those who enroll have 4 days to develop an idea they have. And the only thing they have to do is making a presentation about what they've done in these 4 days on the next Monday. And one time there were these two guys who had an idea, started to research it, and in 2 days they realized that it's not feasible. It's technically impossible to do. And they called me in a kind of sad way that it's a failure. We couldn't do it. There is nothing to demo. And I told them that it's not a failure. It was just you did enough research to realize that it cannot be done and it's not a feasible idea. Come to the demo day and present what you found out. And they did. And I think it's very important to see that that not all ideas are feasible, but if you put in the work and research it and realize that it's not feasible, then the thing that it isn't, the learning has itself value and it's worth sharing in a presentation. So this is the second story, which is my favorite.
I have to admit there is a sign that's spaced up on my wall behind my monitor that is taken from one of the walls from my favorite sporting team, which is essentially I never lose, I either win or I learn. And essentially, you know, that approach is something that people need to admit more frequently in their journeys throughout their career, in terms of not looking at something as a failure, but in terms of a learning that they can take forward into the next journey. But that to me is a great thing about it. But at the same time, presenting that finding or that idea and the essentially the roadblock that they hit in doing so would then also demonstrate to all of the other team members within Graphisoft that, you know, there's a great importance in being able to find things quicker, essentially find those roadblocks quicker to prevent problems occurring into the future. And I think that's a great takeaway from that.
Yeah, and it connects back to the question of agile. It's you are allowed to fail and you are allowed to experiment. As long as you learn from it, it has value. And we even had this saying that fail fast, learn fast, or in a shorter way, fail forward. And well, of course, you have to try and experiment and use the findings to build on. So I agree, and I like that quotation.
It's been great to talk to you today, but I'm going to ask you the last question I normally ask everyone that I have on the podcast, and it's to learn a little bit more, I guess, about your life outside of Graphisoft. And is there a single hobby or multiple hobbies that you have personally got that that you do outside of your time at Graphisoft?
Of course. The work I do is usually with people, with processes. It's very intangible, and I have to consciously find the successes in it. But because it takes long and the changes are gradual, so finding the spot that it's done, it's something new. It's not as easy as in being a baker and well, the freshly baked bread is there and it smells good. So I really enjoy doing things with my hands, like fixing stuff, a little woodworking, saving things from being taken away by repairing, just small things around the house, like I don't know, putting up a shelf on the wall for books, or fixing two broken laptops into one working one, whatever it is.
We should just call you MacGyver. Did you have MacGyver in Budapest, or is that just an Australian joke? And oh, that's good. That's good. Unfortunately, probably half the audience are too young to know what MacGyver is.
There's always opportunity to learn new things.
Boldy, I think that you're definitely overly modest in your commentary around, the challenges of, obviously having KPIs behind your role. I think that you'll identify that you do make a difference, as much as it may be hard for one to be able to measure it due to the number of variables that exist in any organization. But from a person that has been a process-driven person and an implementer of processes and forcing it upon people, as I like to call it, forcing just for fun, to another, I congratulate you for that role. But Baldy, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for this whole conversation. It was really good. Liked it. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries. Now look forward to hosting our next episode of Graphisoft Talks in a month's time. For those of you who haven't reached out and seen our previous episodes, I encourage you to do so. You can also subscribe to the Graphisoft channel on YouTube. Until then, keep learning.